Hello, thank you for joining me on You Health Chat. My name is Sophia Matovu. Now, most women today live demanding lives, because of the work pressures. So you'll find that their schedules, among which are some of the challenges when it comes to breastfeeding their children. Actually, some of them look at it like an option, and they'll choose to only breastfeed when they go back home in the evening or the days when they don't work. So the concept of exclusive breastfeeding is like, it's almost close to being lost. Now, our topic of discussion tonight is enabling breastfeeding, making a difference for working parents, because we do appreciate, yes, that you have to work, but how do you breastfeed? The breastfeeding month is right now. The week ended with, big celebrations taking place in Kitgum. But I'm not the expert when it comes to some of these areas or matters. With me in studio is a senior nutritionist, that is Tim Mateba. He is from the Ministry of Health. And it's at this point that I would like to say thank you, Tim, for coming through.
You're welcome.
Okay. Now, we would like to get straight into it. What is the importance and significance? We all know, naturally, the way we are as humans, a mother gives birth. If she's enabled to have breast milk, then she'll be breastfeeding. Why the need for us to, have a month where we actually get down to talk about breastfeeding?
Okay. Thank you, Sophie, for inviting me to the studios to speak about breastfeeding. Mm-hmm. Usually, we look at breastfeeding as a very small entity in life, and yet, if not all of us, then many of us have ever breastfed at any one time. We dedicate a period in a year in which we want to remember what breastfeeding has done for us. Mm-hmm. And because of that work that follows what breastfeeding has done, we set the first week of August. That means from 1st August to the 7th to remember breastfeeding. But why? You see, worldwide, the countries worldwide observed that breastfeeding trends were declining year after year. And Uganda is one of those countries. For reasons that we shall look at later, breastfeeding trends among breastfeeding mothers were coming down. The World Health Organization actually has recommended how best to feed a baby. Remember that breast milk is the main food for a newborn baby. And if we are starved of our main food, then you remember that we are also starving of our fundamental right to food. Actually, the Constitution of Uganda says that every person must access nutritious food as a fundamental right. And that this can only be done if that food is available at all times. And that for children, for example, there are those who are responsible for providing that food. Now, for a newborn baby, the baby doesn't know what to do. He's waiting. Now, breastfeeding is the main channel through which that baby can get its food. Now, if the trends are going down, for whatever reasons, then there must be every reason to worry. So the world over, it's not only in Uganda, world over 120 countries actually try to bring out messages on how to revive the breastfeeding trends among breastfeeding mothers so that these children benefit from the breastfeeding. Later on ahead, we shall know why breastfeeding is important, why breast milk is important. And we shall notice that it's the very reason why we should promote breastfeeding. So that's why we must observe that period.
There is a very important catchphrase I've picked out of your conversation where you say, reviving the trends. Why? Have we moved on because of the advancement in technology? Why the need to revive the trends? What aren't we doing right?
The studies have shown that if the status quo remained and no one disturbed a breastfeeding mother, she would breastfeed her baby well. But look at it from this way. we have changing circumstances because of either the dynamics in our values, in how we look at breastfeeding from a perspective of, for example, a modern person. Compare with somebody, say, for example, 60 years ago. People think that it is trendy not to breastfeed. And that is very, very dangerous. Some mothers we've heard and we've been told that the fear of breastfeeding, probably because you might lose the shape of a breast, for example. Something as simple as that can be a very big reason for failure to breastfeed. But there are real hurdles that come along and prevent a mother from breastfeeding. And they are really genuine. One of them is the type of work you do. Yes. You may be willing to breastfeed, but what about the type of work that you are doing? Is it allowing you to breastfeed? If you're a teacher, you're a nurse, you are working in a studio like in UBC, you are working in a private company, will you be able to get time to breastfeed your baby? So the trends will keep going down. But above all, we also have a trend where we think that when we give what we call breast milk substitutes, it's more modern than if you give breast milk. A breast milk substitute is something that you give in the place of a breast milk. These days you go to a supermarket and you buy infant formula. It is powdered milk. And sometimes they put even a very good picture to show that a baby there is better than the one who is given a breast milk. And we try to discourage that kind of advertisement. And we say, look here, breast milk is better than anything else. Well, actually, for us, we say that breast milk is second to no other. Or you can say to none. So, because of such trends, either because of work, because of the preference for other things, like breast milk substitutes, mothers fail to breastfeed. Others, peer pressure. Others, the way the society perceives breastfeeding. You may want to breastfeed, and some person, you can't breastfeed from here. You're in a taxi, say, no, don't breastfeed, but the baby is crying. You're in a bus, and you're on a long journey. And it comes in your mind that maybe breastfeeding has specific times. And at some point, you give up. So I think the issue of breastfeeding, declining trends need to be revived. To remind ourselves that no, it's okay to breastfeed. But how best do we do that to accommodate for those who have fears so that they appreciate that breastfeeding is very important? So that's what we are looking at.
Now, talking about its importance, I think this is the time when I'd like us to dive into it. For parents or expectant mothers or mothers who have possibly given up on it, to pick the importance from your expertise as a senior nutritionist.
Why would you breastfeed your baby? And that's what we are calling the importance of breastfeeding. First of all, breastfeeding is important not only to the baby, but also to the mother. You, the mother, that breastfeeding act is important to you and to the baby. But also we have what we call the breast milk itself. So there are two things, breastfeeding, the act, and then the breast milk. Breastfeeding, the act, creates a bond between you and the baby. If you're a mother breastfeeding that baby. That's many times, many of us swear by our mothers. We remember them. No one reminded that this is your mother. And you would prefer to sit near your mother than to go to another person, because that bond is created at the time. When you are breastfeeding, at the time when the baby is born, we recommend that within the first few minutes, the baby is placed on the mother. The baby is placed on the mother. That skin has a magic. First of all, it gives the warmth from the mother to the baby. But above all, it encourages the baby to naturally look for the breast. The baby will always instinctively look for the breast. So, but then, Leave alone the boarding. We are told from research that when you breastfeed as a mother, there is a way breastfeeding helps to act as a family planning method. It helps the mother to space the children. Too close spacing is not good, because now that the economy is biting, you can imagine if your children were closely spaced. But when you space, you are able to manage your children, because then you have an opportunity to have this child growing and another one coming in, so that you're able to manage them. This spacing is done under certain circumstances, under this natural method. And you can get the details, if you want the detail, when you visit the rest facility. The midwives will tell you how religiously you should do it. But we know that you must do it in what we call exclusive breastfeeding. Meaning that you must breastfeed this child without giving anything, frequently, for 6 months before you start giving other foods. Within that period, the probability that you will not conceive is high, because ovulation, or the release of an egg that will make you get pregnant, will be suppressed. So that's the story of breastfeeding. But also, breastfeeding in itself is a time when baby learns from the mother. You'll find mothers look at the babies, and babies look at their mothers, and the behaviors at that time, whether it is smiling, whether it is talking, during that breastfeeding, it's a moment of learning. So it's an act with many advantages. But let's look at the breast milk itself. How is breast milk important? Breast milk is important, especially to the baby, because number one, it has all the food particles, we call them nutrients, that the baby needs to grow, to have the energy, at least for the first 6 months. You don't need to give the baby anything else. God designed breast milk to provide all the necessary nutrients for the baby to survive on. And the science has shown that those such babies, when they take breast milk, they are the ones who later on in the future are very bright in class. They perform better in intelligence tests. If we had a child who was breastfed exclusively, and another one who was not breastfed exclusively, for the first 6 months, the one who was breastfed exclusively performs better in intelligence test. Which mother would want a child not to perform better in intelligence? All of us want that.
True.
The other one is that the breast milk, especially the first one, has got what we call agents that fight disease. It's English. In English we call it, or in science called colostrum. It acts as an antigen or a vaccine. Let's use a vaccine that helps to give the baby's body. It makes the baby's body strong to fight disease. Let's use such language that the baby is able to fight off disease because of the breast milk.
Okay.
So diseases are always available. There are disease-causing germs. But when you have that resistance, you are better to fight off the battle and live on until you grow. So why would a child die of common childhood illnesses simply because you did not breastfeed? So that is very, very important, and we would wish to see every mother give breast milk to the baby. And again, breast milk itself has a way it helps the baby to fight future diseases, which we call non-communicable diseases, such as diabetes, for example, obesity, overweight. A baby who is breastfed exclusively has given the baby, the milk gives the baby the opportunity to stabilize the baby and grow healthy. But one who has not been breastfed exclusively lacks the capacity to retain that health. It is just a matter of time that in the future, when the baby now gets the right foods, either through other foods and you get the nutrients, that's when the body wakes up to pick up, to catch up. And when it catches up, that's when the baby explodes in weight, and we call it overweight, obesity. Such diseases make the baby now, or later in life now, prone or susceptible to diseases such as diabetes. You can imagine, you can prevent that when the child is still a baby. Such things like allergies, for example, are preventable when the baby takes breast milk. So there are quite a number of advantages of breast milk to the baby. And therefore, when we promote this, we know why we are doing it. You can imagine how it is important to breastfeed in order to prevent a child going to the hospital, and you are reducing on the costs of treating a child. That money can be used for other things.
True.
You are talking about a government. I mean, why we are spending money to treat children when that money can go to other things simply because we fail to breastfeed. But we can do that by just providing breastfeeding. Unfortunately, like I said earlier, the breastfeeding fails in some situations because of certain challenges. And I'm using the word challenges to make sure that those who do it probably don't know that it's an issue. So let's call it a challenge rather than call it a problem. But then, what shall we do? This is the situation why we are celebrating the World Breastfeeding Week, which then opens us to a chapter of discussing. It's a discussion. Our work is to give messages, is to give information about what breastfeeding can do. The world designed this period under the World Health Organization's assembly, the proclamations that during that time, let's set aside a time when we can have a conversation to remind ourselves of breastfeeding, because we know there are challenges.
Yeah,
now, while we are sitting here, this is mass communication.
True.
But we know that it is just the beginning. So while we have 1 week starting from 1st August to 7th, this is just to set us into motion to start having a conversation on how we sustain breastfeeding amongst us. We're talking about the mothers, the fathers, we have the community in which we stay, the policymakers, and those who, for example, who employ us. How do we make sure that we help parents
too
breastfeed? Because they are also, parents have children. Let me tell you, Sophie, we recommend that for breastfeeding to do its work, it should be like this. 1, when a baby is born, initiate that baby within the first 1 hour to a breast milk. It sets into motion the production of milk.
What has happened is, okay, I'm sorry to interject. I've seen scenarios where some parents actually, or mothers, struggle, yeah, within that first 1 hour, or sometimes not only within that 1 hour, and then it is permanent and they do not have the breast milk. Why does it turn out that way?
We recommend that breast milk, for it to start being produced, and I'm using the word starting to produce breast milk, you have to attach the baby. The science of the body is that when you put the baby on the breast, it will start the process of manufacturing. The problem we have is that sometimes when they put the baby on the breast, there's this feeling that immediately it will come for all. It's not the same for all mothers. Some mothers, it will come quickly, others, it will wait a little. That's why we give a span of 1 hour. Now, if the breast milk doesn't come at that very moment, within the first moment you put the baby here, that doesn't mean that there's no breast milk going to come. Now, the problem now, we start fearing, there is no breast milk, please hurry up and bring glucose. The baby is not going to die within that 1 attachment. Bring glucose, no, bring infant formula, bring this. Now, the moment you deviate away from the breast, you are actually locking it more. Yet we are saying the more you bring the baby to the breast, the more you initiate the factory to say, okay, now let me start producing the breast milk. So health workers know this, but sometimes maybe they're also under pressure. Others may not be knowing. We can say this, by the way. Not everybody knows what we are saying. Let us be patient. Give the mother the chance. Give the baby the chance to attach onto the breast milk. And during that time, the body will be allowed to produce breast milk. I know it is patience, but when we panic, we go into those reverse gears and the breast milk will not come. And when you say permanently it doesn't come, it means we have also locked it out completely. Breast milk works very well when the baby is and the mother are comfortable and thinking about breast milk production. It is a psychological thing. And no disruption. But you bring mushroom soup, bring warm water, bring that, you've already disrupted.
Glucose is the famous word. Mixed in water, that is
Yes.
the famous one
Yes.
I have. Okay, now I would like to ask, then what is your take? There are some mothers who've had scenarios where they say as opposed to using the formula, they have excessive milk.
Yeah.
And they will choose to use the modern way, have the breast pump and, extract this milk and put it under refrigeration, which is later given to the baby. What is your take on this?
It is very, very, we're talking about breast milk.
Yes, it's the breast milk.
Giving a baby breast milk, which has been expressed, is still very good.
Okay.
Especially under circumstances where a mother is unable to settle down with the baby, and give the baby the breast milk according to the recommended practices. If you can do that in a hygienic and a safe way, it's very, very good. And by the way, Sophie, you're talking about a pump. Some people use hand expression.
Oh.
Yes. And our health workers have been taught how to help mothers hand express the breast until you have enough breast milk, which you can give the baby. And if there is extra, and you have expressed enough, you can keep it in a fridge. For those who have fridges, of course. But we also have a breast milk, the pump. The pump does very well. And of course, it costs money. So for me, I would look for the cheaper version. But if you have the money, you can use the pump and get the breast milk, get it and give it to the baby. Because of the situations under which you are operating, the baby will get the same benefits of breast milk like the one who has breastfed on the breast. The only difference is that now the baby will know more about the cup and the breast milk, but probably will be lacking the presence of the mother, and yet we also want the mother to be very near. And the baby will be knowing the one who gives it.
Exactly.
That's the only disadvantage, probably. But the breast milk will be there for the baby to take. And the good thing also is that as you express, you allow more production. So it will be there.
Now I'd like you to help us to do, whether it's a myth or a misconception. I've seen this happen to a lot of mothers who've just given birth.
Yeah.
The panic alarms, like you said. The minute the mother has given birth, the milk is not coming through. And then there is like eat the bienda in excess. Take the porridge in excess. It will help the production of the milk. There are lots of things that are given to these mothers. You would see a lot of science,
Yes.
of myths coming to play for them to help the mother be able to have that breast milk come out. How true are some of the things that they make mothers go through to help in the production of the breast milk?
Sophie, the science is like this. The body will make breast milk. And when it's making breast milk, it uses the mother's reserves to make breast milk. If those reserves are not replaced, the mother will lose weight. The mother will emaciate. We need to maintain the mother's nutritional status good in order to sustain that factory. That factory is very demanding. To make breast milk, you require food. So giving the mother food, and adequate food, and nutritious food, for me is okay. There's no problem. But the myths of saying give vianda, give that or the other, is not the issue. The issue is, are you giving this mother adequate amounts of food? Whether it's vianda, you give the food. And that's the way the fathers come in handy. You're supposed to be very close there to make sure that the mother receives all this. There are those who may not be very near there, but the home members must know that this mother is producing breast milk, and this breast milk requires a lot of nutrients from the mother. Let me tell you, if you don't do that, sooner or later the mother will start losing weight, emaciating, and therefore the mother will start being susceptible to illnesses. And what you would be thinking of as a breast milk factory will start to cease to be. Now that's not good. So for me, there are all good advantages about giving that mother all those foods, the porridge, the viendas, and you know, it's also water. The soup helps to hydrate the body. So it's still very good. I have no problem with that. Yeah.
Then, now let's get to some of the issues and back. When we talk about making a difference, enabling breastfeeding, making a difference, you know, for working parents.
Yes, yes.
Is there a government policy, like you, one of the people I know, that is into drafting these policies? Is there a policy in place to ensure that this is taking place in workplaces? Or it is something, you know, we are thinking about and it could be a long-term plan?
We are aggressively, and let me make this probably very clear. This year, we are talking about working mothers and want to make a difference. Working fathers want to make a difference. And we're talking about both of them as being parents. The policies are that when a baby is born, this mother must have the chance to breastfeed this baby. But where does she get that chance? So we have got what we call the maternity leave. Maternity leave is given to a mother and should be paid maternity leave. So she goes home, breastfeeds her baby. In Uganda, it is 60 days. Actually, 60 working days. But 60 working days, we've recommended that the mother should breastfeed a baby exclusively without giving anything for 6 months. Then you give 60 days, 60 working days. How will she match that recommendation where we say 60 working days maternity leave and six months exclusive breastfeeding? So you find that they don't match. You are recommending more time for breastfeeding, yet at the same time. So maternity leave, yes, helps. It helps, but leaves a gap. How we wish that this extended to at least 6 months. We have, it's up to us, but we have suggested already. We have suggestions to have this done. We also have a father. In Uganda, they give 4 days. 4 days paternity leave. We are now suggesting that maybe it goes to either a week, 7 days, or even more. There is still a conversation. But 4 days is to help the father, help the mother to breastfeed exclusively, and also to give rest to this mother. So when the father is available, having been given the paternity leave, although there are controversies that you see men they are given the 4 days, but they don't appear. We know that there are those who appear. Few may not, but there are those who appear. So they should be able to support the mothers who have delivered their babies, and shortly after, that should be within the first few days. So the first 4 days are to help them. That's by policy. We also have now these are policy guidelines which mothers should follow. But what about the working mother? We have a suggestion that while she goes to work after the 60 days, can the working environment be conducive for this mother to breastfeed? Some workplaces actually have started. We saw national medical stores, they have done something. We saw, I think Makerere University has something. Our parliament has something called a breastfeeding room, or we can call it breastfeeding corner or breastfeeding area. What you need in that room, if it's this UBC here, is to set aside a room. Say if we assume that maybe at every one time, we shall be having something like 4 mothers who are breastfeeding. Then you have about 4 beds. Also have chairs where mothers will sit comfortably and breastfeed their babies. We can also have, as a waiting area, you'll have a maid or a house help to sit as they take care of the baby. So they need to also sit somewhere comfortably. So we shall need something like that. It can help in both private and government workplaces. This is just to make sure that the place becomes good for the mother to breastfeed. But even without that, can we give opportunity to give these mothers breaks? Give a break to go. We can call them breastfeeding breaks. Yes. Can such a law, can such a policy statement be passed into law so that we have time to allow these mothers to go and breastfeed? It has very good advantages for the employer. Because one, this mother will be at peace. She will settle. She will give her best at work. But if the baby is at home, her mind is not about work, but her mind will be divided. You can see that advantage. The other advantage is that because the baby is here, this time lost or productivity is recovered because the baby is nearby. So it may be seen as a cost, but it is actually something that helps to build the productivity of your workers, both the fathers and the mothers, because the baby is nearby.
Then what about the issue of the willingness of the mother? You know, there are also issues.
Yes.
There are some mothers, after they are done with that phase,
yes,
they will wait, and in their mind, they're like, I'll only breastfeed the baby during bedtime,
yes,
or at the time when I get back home.
Yes.
And they might look at it like an inconvenience of having to get to carry this baby to come to work with them on a daily to execute their work effectively, as they also exclusively breastfeed.
You see, we recommend that the baby should be exclusively breastfed both day and night. Now you see, how will you do it during the day unless you do the other thing we said, express breast milk and leave it at home? If you can do that, then the hassle of bringing the baby to work is taken care of. Then at night, you sit and breastfeed this baby. And we're saying breastfeed on demand is one of the usual statements we give to this man. On demand, which means that when the baby wants to breastfeed, you give. Now, if you are not there and the baby is demanding, where is the breastfeeding on demand coming from? But what about if the mother, because we know that a mere thought of a baby sometimes can create a situation where milk will start flowing from the breast. We've seen this from breastfeeding mothers. Mere thinking about the baby, that my baby wants to breastfeed, it can come. Now, on demand, if the baby was there, you would give. Latch it, and you give. But the baby is not there. So the demand is from either side. But it's not possible when the baby is not there. But when you express, it's possible to have your baby breastfeed, rather not breastfeed, but have breast milk at home, and then you come and breastfeed at night. You'll have gotten it well. But better still when the baby is near here. The only problem is that there is this stigma. How do people see me breastfeeding? How do they perceive me? And so we are demystifying this, that breastfeeding is as natural as eating food on the table. You, when you are eating food on the table, why are you not embarrassed? Why are you not ashamed? And then you are ashamed because the baby is eating. And remember, that's the food.
Yes.
Yes. So we are saying, give the baby its food anytime the baby wants. Anytime you feel like you also want to give the baby. And that as frequently as possible. And that the more you give, the more the food will be needed to be produced by the factory within the breast milk. So I think we need to demystify this feeling. And mainly, especially there's a class of women who think, so I can't. I would rather wait and go back home. But there are those who, when they understand the value, that there is a place where you can put my baby, how I wish I had it, but now that it is there, let me go with my baby, and they will come with the baby. But there are those who want to come, but there is no such provision, and they cannot come. It can be in the market where they are working, and there is no provision where you can breastfeed from at the market, and you leave the baby at home. It could be in a school. It could be in a health facility. Even health workers who tell mothers that please breastfeed your baby day and night exclusively. Also, when they come to work, they struggle because they don't have a breastfeeding area.
True.
So I think the issue is that, yes, there could be some mothers who, when they see others doing it, probably also change their mind.
True.
And we make it as normal and as natural as possible when we talk about breastfeeding. It should be as easy as eating any other food.
Now,
Anybody.
There is another, I don't know whether it's a myth or a fact, but like I say, you're the expert on this subject matter. The type of bra
Wow.
one wears while
Yes,
breastfeeding
yes,
also matters.
yes.
It can either, make the breast be uncomfortable and affect the production of milk, or should they wear the loose bras so the breasts can sag a little bit to allow the production of breast milk?
Now, a bra should be, a tight-fitting bra is not good for the mother. First of all, even the comfort, you need to be comfortable. But when you restrict, the breast is designed in such a way that it has got what we call ducts, the ones that help milk to flow.
True.
Once the bra is tight and it blocks some of those ducts, you may have problems because those ducts can get really blocked, and you end up having conditions that will need medical attention. No one, of course, sagging breasts without something supporting them may not also be comfortable. I'm not a woman, but I believe that a woman would want to have a breast that is supported well. But we discourage tight bras. Tight bras. While some people think they hold the shape and they make it look like it has never, but we know it has sagged. So, but no problem. Make sure you're comfortable, but not too tight, because that will create other problems, especially when the ducts are blocked, and you end up into medical problems that will need to be addressed again, and that will again interfere with the breast feeding of your baby. So it is surely the bra is very important. Get a bra that is comfortable enough to hold the breast, but not to interfere with the milk production or milk letdown. Yeah.
Now, Tim, another one I would like to ask: what is the success you can say you have registered as Ministry of Health as far as breastfeeding is concerned?
We are yet to get to the canon, the promised area. But we can say that when you look at statistics, we are improving breastfeeding practices. The last time we had the demographic health survey, it showed that the women who do exclusive breastfeeding, for example, are now up to 66%. And the trend has been rising slowly, and we don't want to slide. So we want to maintain that trend so that the mothers exclusive breastfeed up to 6 months without giving any other food. Now, that trend is an achievement. We have, our messages, like I told you, have gone out there, and you have seen some institutions beginning to provide breastfeeding areas to make sure they help working mothers to breastfeed. Those are all achievements, and we are continuing to register many more because we are moving around, getting promises. It's a matter of time that the employers get to understand how to support these mothers to breastfeed during the workplace. We also have situations where we have to fight or protect breastfeeding. Breastfeeding, if we're not protected, is a big competitor for those who sell breast milk substitutes. And actually, there are the reasons why mothers who would wish to breastfeed now will opt not to breastfeed and go for the breast milk substitutes. We have in place regulations on breast milk substitutes to regulate use of breast milk substitutes. It is still a battle because there are very many ways in which the manufacturers, the sellers of breast milk substitutes will want to make sure that children get the breast milk substitute because money is needed. But unfortunately, our allies who are involved in the same racket don't see that as a problem. We are regulating, we are not stopping breast milk substitutes. There are moments when they will be needed. For example, when my mother has passed on, Maybe we have got, like recently we had a Ebola outbreak, and we're saying, no, don't give the breast milk. There are situations where we shall need that. But we don't want to promote breast milk as well as fighting. I mean, breast milk substitutes, and then we fail to promote breast milk. We are saying first, breast milk comes ahead of other things. So the problem is that we are fighting with those who are, you go to a supermarket, you will see where you find breast milk substitutes. Just as you enter like this, they are just at the front there. They are the ones that appeal to your eye first. So, but we have regulations, and the regulations are in place. We just need to make sure that we give them the enforcement, the bite. You know, if somebody has violated that regulation, the penalty is very small. True. That they may not be able to feed it, but we have the regulation. So we want to revive it so that we actually protect breastfeeding.
Okay. Now, Tim, in just like about 2 minutes or 3, I'd like for you to give or share with the viewer what is the take-home message as far as breastfeeding is concerned.
Now, to the parent, don't give up on breastfeeding because it has got advantages. For those who are breastfeeding and those who are yet to breastfeed and those who are planning, remember this: your child's future depends on how you started that child. A good start starts with a good feeding for that baby, and the best start is to give that baby a gift called breast milk. Give within the first 1 hour, and the factory will continue producing. Number 2, make sure that you support the mother to breastfeed. This goes to the family members, especially the spouses, the husbands, but also talking about the institutions, especially the workplaces. Allow these mothers to breastfeed. We know we are giving maternity leave. We are also giving the fathers paternity leave, but give them breaks. Provide a breastfeeding corner, a breastfeeding area with the infrastructure. We can advise on how you can put that infrastructure so that it can comfortably give this mother the opportunity to breastfeed while at the workplace. Let it even be a school. Let it be a facility. Let's do that. For us at the Ministry of Health, we are trying to make sure we do that. We are already in a high gear. Hopefully we shall get there. So don't ask me questions and say, but have you done it at your workplace? Yes, we are already doing that. Not yet done, but it's in the pipeline. We ask others to do the same. Let's send the message of breastfeeding, whether it's in schools, in churches, mosques, in markets, that breastfeeding is the best gift you can give to your baby. When a baby is born, don't rush with a bottle of naan to the mother as a gift. Don't rush with a bottle, a feeding bottle, because already the baby has its food ready there, naturally given, and very, very good, sterile, free, at the right temperature, no cooking, nothing. It's just the best. If we do that, we shall develop our country, because then we shall have a productive population, given that they will start their health on a clean sheet. On a clean sheet, and then they grow healthy. They are not the people who fall sick all the time. So they are intelligent. So I think, to me, that's the message I should be able to give to everybody. And it helps. It's very useful to the parents and to everybody who is a stakeholder for that baby. So breastfeeding, breast milk, that's the way to go.
Thank you so much, Mr. Tim Mateba, who is a senior nutritionist at the Ministry of Health. What you have really shared is information that was really, nobody can take it away. I believe for you who's been watching You Health Chat, the message is sound and clear. If you're planning to join that lane, you know now the importance and the value of what breast milk will mean for the baby. If you have not been doing exclusive breastfeeding, support your partner to be able to do it. The husbands stand by the wives to be able to do it. I'll not add on more because Tim has been very, very, very clear in terms of how he put out his message. That is all we had time for tonight. I'd like to say good night from me and Tim. It's just about like 7 minutes to the top of the hour. Rhoda Ngonzi will be coming your way with the 10 o'clock news. Good night.